G'day guys, Solid here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome back to another episode of Adventure News. Plenty of great stories to talk about this month. We've got the MV Agusta Lucky Explorer series, KTM are back in the news with their 790, and I want to eat some humble pie on the 390 story I did a couple of weeks ago. There's also big news from Triumph with a small displacement Scrambler and more news on their MX and Enduro range. And lastly, I want to talk about the revival of Honda's Trail 125. So let's get into all the good stuff. It looks like the Lucky Explorer series is under some heavy criticism by the CEO of the Pierre Mobility Group. That's the guy who runs KTM, GasGas and Husqvarna, the big conglomerate. And what Stefan Pierre is saying here, word for word, is no one needs the Lucky Explorer MV Agustas. Pierre believes that MV Agusta should focus on their road-going models, particularly their naked bikes at the moment. He states that he sees MV Agusta's entrance into the adventure market as a big risk that really isn't worth it, which is a bit of a strange statement. I really find it hard to get behind Pierre's argument. Maybe he's got stats and figures that I don't know about, being that he is in charge of so many big brands. The adventure bike market is pretty huge, and we know that there is a lot of room for a lot of competition. You don't have to be the top brand to make a lot of money on adventure bikes. There's a couple of motivations that could cause Pierre to say this. The obvious one is that clearly the MV Agusta 9.5 would compete heavily with the Norden 901 and the KTM 890 Adventure, as well as the Lucky Explorer 5.5 produced by China's QJ Motors will compete directly with the 390 Adventure. Pierre could just be stating this because he doesn't want the competition. What Pierre says doesn't mean that's what MV Agusta are going to do. Remember, it's a 25.1% interest. It's not a controlling stake. His words aren't law, so MV Agusta are free to continue doing what they planned all along, particularly considering how much money is gone into the development of both bikes already. Do you agree with Pierre that both models should be scrapped and that the 5.5 really dilutes the look of the brand? I'd love to know your thoughts down below, or are you really excited for both of these adventure bikes from MV Agusta?
Start it up.
Next up, we've got KTM potentially reviving the 790 Adventure R. The only lead we have that this bike is coming back is a type approval document between KTM and CF Moto, who look to be producing the motorcycle. What does this mean? Well, if it's with CF Moto, that obviously means that this potentially will be produced in China. We know that KTM have had an agreement with CF Moto for quite some time, so it holds water that there would be a type of approval document and that this would signify that the 790 Adventure R will be made in China, which is interesting news for some of you, I'm sure. We also have a leaked image with the type approval documents of the bike pretty much ready to go. We can see the really serious WP suspension on the bike, which of course would be on the R. We've also got that high front mudguard and serious knobbies on the bike. Of course, this looks exactly like an Adventure R should. You can see that it doesn't have a windshield in the picture, and also it's lacking all the graphics. It looks like it's pretty far along in its development, but that also doesn't mean that everything you see here is 100%. Things could change along the road to getting to production, so it'll be interesting to see what KTM do here. I get a lot of questions about why does KTM even bother producing this bike, and I've usually said that, well, it's slightly cheaper, so that really gets the people that are frugal, because it still makes a lot of power at 94 horsepower, so you're not really losing out too much from the 890s. If you want to save a little bit of money and maybe a little bit of moving mass in the motor so it feels a little bit lighter and it's psychological. But what is also been pointed out to me from a few guys over in Europe who watch this channel is the 790 can actually be ridden in your graded licensing system in a lower category than the 890 Adventure. So that really opens it up to a whole pile of people who can't get access to the 890. And adventure bikes really are the really dominant off-road bike in Europe as far as I understand it, because getting very, very hard in Europe to ride seriously off-road with all the restrictions. Chuck your thoughts down below. Let's talk about the video I made on KTM recently that I took down because I really didn't feel like the information I was referring to held up under further critical analysis. A few of you guys pointed out some holes that I really should have picked up on, and I wanted to just clear that up. Now, Bike Whale was the initial media outlet to report on this story. Now, they're based in India where the 390 is made, and they're likely to have contacts with Bajaj and KTM. They're likely to be closest to the source, and they reported this first off. And then Ride Apart reported on that story without any new information and without any direct context. So what they stated was that there was going to be a lower seat version and a premium option, and Bike Whale didn't clarify whether it was for the Indian market by itself or for the whole globe. So that's where information started to turn into Chinese whispers. The problem was that Ride Apart took that information and suggested that we might be getting a 390 Adventure R. The problem here is I think Ride Apart got the wrong end of the stick, as did I. In India, the 390 Adventure doesn't come with the adjustable WP suspension that the Western market gets. So a premium model in India could just mean that they get the model that the Western market gets. So that's the likely case and the reason why I took down the video. So let's talk about Triumph's Scrambler, the 400cc version that is. A small displacement scrambler from Triumph, which is super exciting news. Could it be dirt capable? Because scramblers tend to learn in two categories. One is all about the aesthetics, they're not really off-road capable at all. And then you get the scramblers like Triumph's XC that really can hang with the big boys off-road. We got the first look at this bike in December of 2022, but we heard about it all the way back in February of 2022. So now new spy shots have dropped. And what's obvious, it does still look like it's a 19-17-inch wheel combo, and it does still look like there is some decent amount of ground clearance. So there is the possibility that this bike still will have some amount of dirt capability. On top of that, you can see the Enduro front mudguard, which is very interesting. This is just Old Solid in his harebrained thinking that possibly we could see two versions with that high front mudguard. That would be amazing to have two Triumph Scramblers that are affordable, capable, lightweight, small displacement, that really could make a tantalizing little adventure bike if it had all the right features. The other rumors about this bike are exciting, is that we could see this bike as early as June this year for its release. Now it will be released later in the year apparently for India. I would love to see what Triumph do here with an affordable Scrambler series. And would you love to see them make a baby XC? I think that would be fantastic. Now let's talk about Triumph and their MX and Enduro range. When the news dropped that this was happening, I was very excited because ultralight adventure bikes can really be made out of fantastic Enduro bikes like the 500 EXE, the 390 and 480 beaters. Bikes like that really make fantastic ultralight adventure bikes. So the news that Triumph could be doing that themselves and that they would be premium motorcycles really gets me excited, and I do hold out hope that Triumph will drift into the dual sport market as well, but that really is a Hail Mary.
Just a fool's hope.
And we've got fresh progress on their MX bikes. They've been out testing them, which is really exciting. We also know Triumph are set to enter the MX GP in 2024. There really isn't much to see from the videos other than the bike obviously is very capable from the things that are being done in this videos. The bike definitely is going to be up to the task of proper MX riding. Really is great to see fresh blood entering the proper off-road world, so I'm excited to see where Triumph take the MX bikes, their Enduro bikes, and Triumph, please look into making premium dual sports. We'd love to see something in the 350 to 400cc range. The next bike I want to talk about is the Honda Trail 125. This was a massively anticipated motorcycle and super popular when it did hit the showrooms, a successor to the 1960s CT motorcycles that Honda made. Things like the Super Cub, the C90, the CT110 that we had here in Australia, and a lot of people around the world have really shown their capability over the years. I'm thinking of Ed March on his C90 Adventures channel, a fantastic channel if you haven't checked it out. Lots of people have traveled the globe on these little bikes. It was a massive shame when this brand new CT125 and Super Cub had to be taken off the market because of emission standards. Now I have good news for you. It is back and it has been reworked, the internals. The engine is now over square. It has a higher compression as well, so it has been tweaked to pass the new emission standards. I'm really happy to see this bike, mainly because this really is the quintessential adventure bike. It takes away all the shiny crap that we don't need, and I don't think there is a bike that encapsulates a bike for the people more than the Trail and the Super Cubs. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you like what we do here, consider subscribing. We've just crossed that 30,000 subscriber mark, which is absolutely amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. And as always guys, don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.